You don't want to be on this couch? Alright, let's be on the couch.
I guess I'll suffer right here, right guys? How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah, have you been to Austin before?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
It's a hot city. Fun.
It is a great city. One of my really good friends, Taylor Kitch lives here, actually.
Oh, yeah, Texas forever, y'all.
Yeah, exactly.
3-3. Love it. Well, I wanted to ask you, since you're part of, like, the best fandom ever, the Marvel Universe, and we're all here geeking out, what do you love to geek out over? What's your jam?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. 80s music? I don't know. I still, I guess I geek out about movies and stuff. I mean, I get excited when things are sort of coming up or whatnot, but yeah, music usually does it, I feel.
So, did you like the Stranger Things soundtrack then?
I love Stranger Things! Those kids are incredible. I mean, I watched that one, yeah. No, it's great because it actually reminded me of the Blade Runner soundtrack a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, which is really great, and that was a good show. Yeah.
I know, season 2's going to come out, so we have something else to look forward to while we wait for Infinity War.
Infinity War, the infinity wait is going to be it's going to be very long before anyone knows what's going to happen, including myself.
Well, I don't know if you can answer my next question then. You probably can't, but do you know how big of a role Bucky will play?
Listen, I think like John Candy's in that film. I think there's people in that film that we'll discover 30 years from now. Like I have no idea where my character's going to fit in. I mean, they certainly don't tell me anything as per usual. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. Again, it could be. It was left very open-ended to some extent, and I can't stop looking at that dog. That's amazing. That's how I feel. Buddy.
Raja, I'm Jasmine, so Aladdin. His name's.
Well, while we wait for Infinity War, do you think we can get like a Falcon Bucky, just like?
We should. It was his birthday a couple days ago. I wished him happy birthday. He took 48 hours to write me back. That's how it is. That's how it is. All I got was, thanks, playa.
That's love. Well, let's turn it to the fans. Let's start over here. Hi.
Hey.
I have a Bucky question you can actually answer. What do you think would have happened to Bucky had he not fallen off the train? Do you think he would have been on the plane with Steve, or do you think he would have been with Peggy just watching?
Just watching, anticipating. God, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened to him. I feel like I always thought of him as, in those days, as wanting to kind of get out of the army and get out of the war and whatnot. And it's Steve that brings him back into it. And sort of Steve signing up for the war, and to some extent, is like his worst nightmare in a sense, because he feels responsible in a way, as an influence. And so, I think he probably would have done anything possible to be on that plane with him, and then probably fallen off the plane. which I think is what happened in one of the comic books.
Do you think that Bucky, do you think that he's like, I deserve to be forgiven, or I just don't be, especially after Civil War, for everything he's done, and Tony Stark's parents, if you guys haven't seen it, like, what are you doing with your life? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I would feel that he would have to be in a place of forgiveness for himself, and then also to some extent looking for it from the others, because otherwise you can't live. You can't go forward. There's no. At some point you've got to forgive yourself and what's happened and what other people have done to you and what you've done to other people. And so you know, I think that's the only way that he could progress. If not, there's no way.
Do you think Tony will forgive him?
It might take a long time. I don't know.
Over here.
Howdy, Sebastian.
Hi.
Just a quick question. You have a really good singing voice. Don't know if you've ever heard that. But I actually have a question. If you could be in a Broadway musical, which Broadway musical would you pick?
Broadway musical. Oh boy, I don't know. I mean, that's a, you know, I can't because Aaron. What's the last name? That was. I thought that was a good rendition of Grease. No, you know what? When I was in camp, I did Sweet Charity. That's what I did, and that was a very fun experience for me. So if I could ever go back to, they'll never hire me, but if I could, I would do that one because that's a really funny musical to me.
Over here. Hi. Oh wait.
Hey.
Between the fall off the train and when he became the Winter Soldier and lost the arm and everything, do you think that Bucky was like heavily tortured? And if so, what was his breaking point?
I didn't hear that question. What? I didn't hear that question. What did you?
Stranger Things. Yeah, I mean, he definitely, I think, experienced some pretty traumatic situations. I mean, I'll leave that to your imagination as to what they probably did to him, but, you know, I think it's somewhere in between, you know, that scene in Marathon Man where, like, Dustin Hoffman gets tortured by Laurence Olivier, or, like, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think whatever happened to him obviously made him a different person. And I think the journey for him, the way that I see it sort of, is that he's that character where, you know, he could kind of end up both ways. And what I'd like to see him do is just evolve from that to a point where sometimes, you know, a difficult situation can make someone a stronger person or a better person, or forces someone in a better, I don't know, higher sort of plane of living or awareness or whatever, or he can be destroyed by it, right? But so far we haven't seen him be destroyed by it. We've just seen the potential of him getting destroyed by it. So that's why it's a fun character, because it's relatable that way, you know? Sometimes when you have something traumatic happen, it's like, what is your choice? What do you do with it? You know, do you grow from it, or do you fall?
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'm really, really sorry. I keep moving it and
Steve
shaking.
won't let him give up either. He'll never let him give up.
Steve needs to, you know, he needs to take care of himself. I mean, the guy, you know, like, watch a movie, you know? Order Postmates or something. I mean, like...
Oh my God.
Stop taking the world. It's too perfect.
Yeah.
Over here.
Hi, down here.
Hey,
Dog person.
of course. We've taken a picture before, haven't we?
That picture actually went viral, and now everyone recognizes my dog. So
God, that's great.
like all the time.
Wonder what's gonna happen in an hour from
Sebastian
now.
Stan dog. Oh my gosh, it's a dog.
He was in blue, right?
Yeah. Sorry. So a line that really affected me, and my voice sounds around the microphone. Sorry. I'm an awkward person. A line that really affected me in Civil War was when Bucky said, "I remember all of them."
Oh, yes.
As a military veteran who struggles with survivor's guilt and PTSD, I can relate. How do you think Bucky has addressed his PTSD? What did he do for those 2 years? Did he do, I mean, obviously you can't really see therapy, but do you think his PTSD really affects him?
Oh, I 100%. I mean, I think, you know, I'm not sure he had a lot of access to help, so to speak. I think what he was doing is sort of isolating himself as a way to kind of deal with it on his own. And obviously, I I don't think that helps. I mean, I'm sure that that wouldn't help someone in that situation. But he is very much a victim of those things. I mean, on some of the research that I've done, obviously, you understand it on a much deeper level than I ever will. But is about what happens to someone who maybe is untreated for that, or who doesn't have an outlet, who ends up spending a lot of time in their own mind, and which is what he did, and so that obviously didn't help him very much. The line, I remember them all, was an interesting moment. I never actually, I was always curious about how that ended up landing on people, because at the time, the choice that I was making is that he, at that point, he sort of had realized that there was no way he was going to be getting out of there, and someone was going to die, whether it was going to be him, Steve, or Tommy. And when he says, I remember them all, to me that was the turning point for him, where he kind of was like, okay, I know what you want me to say, and I'm just going to say it, because I'm going to, when someone comes at you over and over and over again, and they can't hear you, they can't see, you're pleading with them, you're trying to figure out how to get through to them, and they just won't accept it. At some point, you just give in and you go, that's right, that's what you want to know. Of course he didn't remember them all. I didn't think, I thought it was more of a line of to get Tony to kind of just go after him. I mean, he's just, it was a defeat, it was a giving up, it was a sort of defeat for him at that point, sort of like, I'm probably not going to make this fight. That kind of moment was how I was interpreting it in my mind. Of course, it always reads very differently.
Thank you very much, and as a veteran, thank you for your portrayal of a long-term member. It means a lot to us.
Over here. Sorry, it's a long way. I know a lot of people don't really like to say goals because, you can't always meet them, and that can be kind of disappointing. But I think everyone has stuff that they want to achieve in life. So, what are some of your life goals that you hope make happen?
Wow.
No pressure.
No pressure. It's interesting. I think that it feels to me that as time goes by and I get to meet more and more people, and I have the opportunities to be able to even just sit here for a day or whatever and to talk to people, it feels to me that the right thing to do is to kind of when you're given a platform, you have to do something about it. You have to sort of expand beyond your own kind of personal goals. Sure, I'd love to continue to work with amazing directors and to be part of movies that change people or affect people. I mean, when I signed up for this, I never really thought in a million years that this character or these stories or something, to have someone who just reached out to me and said, thank you for recognizing something, or I'm related to this, is probably the most gratifying experience out of this whole process. And so I think as I go forward, I'd like to get more and more involved in finding ways to connect with people, which is, I think, what we're all doing to some extent more and more now. We have those opportunities with social media and with all kinds of ways. I mean, so I think for me, the task is going to be to kind of be more involved and see where I can help. Even if it's just, I don't know, putting a smile on someone's face or answering some questions or, making somebody feel better. I mean, we're all crazy anxious people, it doesn't matter if I'm sitting here or you're there. I mean, I'm awkward, I get nervous, I get panic attacks, I get crazy, whatever, like depression. I mean, it's the world we live in, and so, it's just, I think it's important that we all remember that at the end of the day, we're just the same person. I get a little caught up and I laugh sometimes when I look at Instagram, because I'm like, everybody's just so happy. I'm like, but that's not how it is 7 days out of the week. We're all over the place, and so my job, I think, is to always just try to remain as honest as I can, and to just I don't know, help in some way.
Thank you.
I mean, Comic-Con is such, it's just like a positive, awesome environment, and so it's just great that like, stars like you guys come out and you just embrace it and let us nerd out with you. It's fun.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have to. I think we need to. I think what should happen is that we should start wearing costumes also. Like that's what really should start happening. Not necessarily like our characters, but maybe different people characters. You know?
Yeah, who would you cosplay as? Who's like, if you had like unlimited resources, like someone that could do your makeup, like all sorts of stuff.
Oh God. I mean, unfortunately, DC characters come to my mind. I mean.
That's alright.
No, I've always loved the Riddler. I mean, that was like always a big character for me when I was younger. I mean, I don't know where in the world he is, but, so he comes to my mind, but, I don't know, I was a huge Warcraft 2 fan when I was young. That's all I ever did on a computer. I'm sure I could find stuff.
Alright, well, we'll keep that in mind for next time. You said
Yeah.
it, so.
Now
Now stuff.
I've just buried myself in
I think we have Bucky Barnes over here, Winter Soldier.
Hi, Sebastian. Thank you so much for coming down to Austin.
No problem.
I wanted to know, you were so good about sharing your personal thoughts about the characters, really getting into their head and digging in for what their motivations are. I have my own headcanons, but I'm curious about what yours is for why Bucky decided to go back into cryo.
Well, it was just the way it was written in the script. I was like, really? Okay. All right. It really seems to be the best option for him, to be honest. It really is, like, it's the truth, because something needs to change. Something has to be done about he's finally going to get the attention that he needs. You know, he's finally going to get to kind of, I think, process through some of these experiences, and he's finally in safe hands, so to speak. Those hands might have claws, but you know. But yeah, it's so. It's the only option I think for him at this point.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
And you probably don't know the answer to this, but do you know how big of a role you'll be in the Black Panther film? Or if you'll be in it at all since you're...
No, I didn't hear a thing about it, to be honest. I always assumed that maybe that might happen, but I definitely don't know for sure, so.
Keep stuff under wraps. They're so good about that.
They
Which I
do.
appreciate, because you like to be surprised, but...
You do like to be surprised. It's kind of like being on a game show. You're just watching this wheel go around, and then you're like, oh good, I'm still alive. But
Yeah, for your job, it's probably not the best when it's like your livelihood.
but there is some truth to the fact that, you know, you guys actually really do have a lot of say in what happens. You can't forget that. I mean, you know, the questions that you have, the way that you feel about these people, these characters, you know, the movies, like, they listen to you. So, you know, it's actually, the audience is much more influential.
Over here?
Good morning. So outside of plum shopping and writing in his diary about Captain America, what other hobbies do you think Bucky has?
The plums were unusually big today. Should have gotten blackberries. And watching The Wire. Sorry, go ahead.
Just what kind of hobbies outside of that do you think Bucky had while he was on the land?
Like riding the subway and figuring out who looks like a murderer and who doesn't. I bet he would. I don't know why. This is gonna sound terrible. I don't know. But like, I bet he was going to. I have to say it. I was going to say he's probably like has some game that he does with his arm, but.
That's all I need. Thank you so much.
I realized like the thought got so ahead of me that it's just gone. There's no return at that point. So I'm sorry. I meant he like was figuring out how strong he was.
Next question.
Hi, Sebastian. So the first thing that
Richie.
you always do it. Hi. So the first thing I want to say is thank you for coming to Austin. We're all really excited whenever you get a new role. Really excited to see you on screen again over the course of the year, but we're also always happy when we get to see you here. So thank you for taking the time and being so gracious.
Thank you.
Of course. So my question is another serious one, but it's less about Bucky and more about you. So one of the things that has stood out about me in your interviews is just your honesty and your reflection, and I find it really valuable from a personal standpoint. You said in a BuzzFeed article once that a piece of advice you'd give your younger self is that it's going to be okay, maybe even better than okay. And that piece of advice meant so much to me this year that I got it tattooed on my arm. Yeah, so thank you for that, first of all, for always offering hope to other people. But my question to you would be like, what pieces of advice or things have stood out to you so much that you carry them in your heart that get you through tough times?
You know, I always think about this one question, which is, you know, what is in your control and what's not in your control, and I think about that almost daily because it's a very simple question, and I think like when you boil it down, you know, when you boil down to it, it's like you really kind of, no matter what situation you're in, there's some sort of clarity there in terms of like, because you got all these thoughts, you know, and there's all these thoughts about like everything and kind of, you know, what's next week or what's tomorrow, what, you know, tonight I got to do this, or you know what I didn't call that person yesterday. So, but the truth is, when you write it down about what's in control and what's not in your control, you realize a little bit that there are so many things you think about that actually are useless. No, I mean, again, you know, I'm being sort of general and whatnot, but that was a good thing that someone said to me. It's like, you know, really prioritize and think, what are you in control? Well, I'm in control of what I'm going to get done today, you know, what I want to do today, if I want to call this person, if I want to, you know, I am in control if I'm going to feel better today or if I'm not, you know. What I'm not in control about is I don't know what tomorrow's going to be like, and I can't change what happened, and you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to get that job, and I don't know what's going to happen with Infinity Wars, and I don't know, you know, and so all I know is that I'm here now with you, and, you know, and what I'm in control about is I can be miserable, I can actually have a good time, or I can be whatever, you know, so I think thinking about that sometimes kind of relieves me of kind of a weird state of mind, you know.
Thank you so much. And we love you.
Me too.
Or just being stressed out. Like, I think we all do this. You just get it's like unnecessary to get so stressed out about things where it's like, I can't even control that. Why am I freaking out? I just need to focus on
It's
life.
only normal to stress out. I mean, I think it's funny to stress out. It's
Well, it does cause wrinkles. I don't know why I do it, you know.
well, you know, listen, we're all humans, right?
Okay. Hi. Sorry. So, first of all, just thank you for being you. Just make everything in life much better. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
So, my question is, sorry, I'm muted. If you could have any of the characters.
That's it.
If you could have any of the characters that you played or their female version, be your best friend, your sibling, or your date, who would you pick for each and why?
I don't know if I'd ever date anybody I've played. How about that? Best friend. I was gonna be like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a best friend like Bucky Barnes, and then I'll be like, oh, he's late again. Like, he's lost again. Like, no, loyalty is key. God, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. TJ is a very sensitive person. I mean, I'm sure he would know the answer to those things. What he can control, what he can't control. I don't know. Yeah, any of those guys would be fine.
Thank you.
Over here.
Hi, I'm Twinkle. I just first wanted to say that thank you for coming to the con. We all love you. My question is serious. What do you get at Starbucks?
Starbucks. Such an interesting experience.
Hey, what time is, I mean, it's fall. Do you PS?
Oh, the red cups are coming back. No, I just get like iced coffee. I always just get iced coffee or venti iced coffee. It's weird. I think what happened was, because of traveling so much, I would always, maybe that is the good thing about it, is sometimes it's nice to see something you recognize in a very obscure, different place, and you go, oh, right, I know that. At least I know that. So that's why I end up there all the time. But iced coffee.
Thank you.
Over here.
Okay. A couple months ago, you mentioned that you weren't interested in having Bucky hold or picking up Cap's shield. So my question, and apologies if you've been asked this, if Marvel was to come to you and ask you what direction Bucky were to go in, what direction would you want? Like, what is the ultimate goal that you would want Bucky to be? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's inevitable. I mean, he would have to, he would have to see what it'd be like to fight with his arm and the shield, So, I don't know. It's up to them. It really is. I just meant I loved what I was getting to do, because I do love when he goes crazy and when he's sort of all over the place. It's just so much fun for me to play, because then I know I won't speak, and then I just stare and I attack. Okay, great. But to see him further developed, I think. I think there's a real leadership in him that hasn't been explored yet, and I probably would like to see that happen. And so if they ever wanted to take it to that, I would say find an opportunity for that.
Thank you. Over here.
Laura,
Hi,
you gotta
I'm
be
Meredith.
saving my spot.
If you had to compete in the Olympic Games, which sports would you compete in? And would you prefer US or Romania?
Gymnastics! Gymnastics!
Romania, what they have gymnastics?
Gymnastics!
What does Romania have left? Yeah, gymnastics.
Gymnastics! Stop pointing at
I would have.
Sorry.
I wish I could have been a gymnast. It would have been, those guys really know what they're doing. I don't know. I wanted to be a basketball player when I was younger. Obviously, that didn't work out. But maybe that. Maybe basketball or maybe gymnastics.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
What was your favorite team, or who's your favorite player growing up, basketball player?
Oh, I loved the New York Knicks, obviously, because but the 1990s New York, Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing, like those guys and whatnot. I loved Charles Barkley. I still love Charles Barkley. He kills me. So any of that generation.
Old school. I'm from Chicagoland area, so I'm a double 3P girl myself. But I love Charles Barkley. He was the
No,
best.
of course, yeah. In Chicago, oh my God, you had that guy.
What was his? Mikhail? I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Hi, Sebastian.
I just found out that I was deploying like in January, so to the veteran that gave you good wishes, I reiterate them. I want to ask you, in NBC's Kings, you played Jack Benjamin, a troubled but lovable character. Had the show not been canceled, do you think he would have gotten a redemption arc? And if so, did that affect the way you portrayed the character?
Yes. He would have gotten a redemption arc. In fact, that's what they were going to do. I remember the truth was, Chris Egan's character was going to take over. David was going to lead, and so he would have been like kind of like the King Arthur situation, and then my character would have been like the Lancelot, sort of to that. But yeah, I would have thought so. He would have come back around in one way or another. Thanks.
Okay, we have time for about 2 more questions. Right here.
Good morning. Over here.
Hey.
Hi. So I know you've been in Ireland filming for a while, but have you gotten a chance to see the Captain America sculpture in Brooklyn, New York?
I actually drove by yesterday, and it's in front of the Barclays Center. Yeah, it's really nuts. I couldn't believe it. But I just saw it yesterday for the first time.
I'm glad I asked this question then. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, right over here.
Hey, in an article you said those beginning years, looking back, they could be really tough. But there was something great about it, and once it's gone, it's gone. Was there a defining moment when you thought, man, I've made it? Or do you think that in some ways you're still having to prove yourself as a serious actor?
Yeah, I think one of my goals in life is to really embrace struggle. And what I mean by that is, this business to me is not a very, I've never thought of it as a very safe business, which is one of the reasons why I've always enjoyed it, because it's unpredictable and it's all over the place. And I think there's a lot more of things that I'd like to have an opportunity to do that I haven't gotten to do yet. That being said, it's important to kind of take in and be really grateful about sort of what's happening, which I always remind myself no matter what, and I really, really am. But I think it's always important to kind of feel like you're heading somewhere, you're climbing towards something. It just makes the moments that sort of like this all the more gratifying when you're sort of aware, I guess, on the way.
Thank you. And before we wrap up, if everyone could reach under their seats, there's actually, if you have a lime green circle sticker, raise it up or give me a whoop.
Okay, I cannot see under my seat.
Maybe? It's taped underneath your seat. Does anyone have it? There should be 3 of them, I believe.
You're just pulling sticker?
Right there.
Good winner, come on up. If you have a green circle, come on up. All right, we have 1, only 3.
None? Look on this row.
Do we have?
I think I see one.
Do we have? Oh, we have 2. Where's our 3rd one? Yes, that one. We have another winner over here. Almost found the 3rd.
I'm sorry.
Let's get you guys excited. Well, if you have it, yeah, just come on up here. Yeah, come up on stage. Come hang with us.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay, there's stairs on. Yep, stairs on the side over here. You guys each get a gift bag and a photo with
wish I had like a Tony Robbins like song to like just blast.
All right, look at this. Cheer these guys on. Look at they just watch. Congratulations, guys. Yeah, we get a quick photo.
Oh, there he is. Hey, man. How does it feel up here?